I stood in the empty apartment at dawn watching the first light creep through the bare windows. 7 years ago, I walked into this place with nothing but hope and a promise from my parents. I never imagined that the people who gave me life would be the same ones to take everything I built. It all started at my brother's baby shower with a framed deed and a smile that hid a knife. But they did not know I had been preparing for this moment longer than they realized. Before I tell you what happened, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe if you have not already. Trust me, you will want to stay for this one, because what I did next changed everything. Let me take you back to the beginning so you can understand how deep this betrayal really went. My family always looked perfect from the outside. My father Harold was 62 years old, a retired engineer who spent most of his career designing bridges. He was the kind of man who spoke few words, but when he did, everyone listened. My mother Diane was 59, a homemaker who dedicated her entire life to maintaining what she called the family image. She cared more about what the neighbors thought than what her own children felt. Then there was my younger brother Kevin. He was 29, 3 years younger than me, and from the day he was born, he was the golden child. Everything Kevin did was celebrated. Every mistake he made was excused. He worked a regular office job, nothing special, but the way my parents talked about him, you would think he was running a Fortune 500 company. Kevin married Stacy 2 years ago. She was 27, pretty in a conventional way, and completely obsessed with her social media presence. Every meal, every vacation, every moment of her life had to be documented and shared for validation. When she got pregnant, the posts became endless. Baby bump photos, gender reveal announcements, registry links. It was exhausting to watch. And then there was me, Maribel, the older son who did everything right but somehow never measured up. 7 years ago, when I was 25, my parents approached me with what seemed like a generous offer. They had found a 2-bedroom apartment in the suburbs listed at $180,000. They would put down $30,000 as a down payment, and I would move in and pay the monthly mortgage of $1,200. The deal was simple. Once the mortgage was paid off, the apartment would be mine. I trusted them. They were my parents. Why would I ever doubt their word? So I moved in and started paying. Every single month without fail, $1,200 left my account and went toward that mortgage. I never missed a payment, not once in 7 years. But I did not just pay the mortgage. I made that apartment my home. I invested in it. I poured my heart and my savings into transforming it from a dated, worn-down unit into something beautiful. The floors were the first thing I changed. The original carpet was stained and smelled like the previous owner's cats. I ripped it all out and installed solid oak hardwood flooring throughout the entire apartment. That cost me $8,000, but it was worth it. The floors gleamed like honey in the afternoon light. Next came the kitchen. The cabinets were falling apart, the hinges rusted, the doors hanging crooked. I hired a contractor and had custom cabinets installed modern shaker style in a soft grey that matched the new quartz countertops. $12,000. I replaced every light fixture in the apartment. The old ones were cheap builder-grade pieces that barely illuminated the rooms. I put in recessed lighting, a crystal chandelier in the dining area, modern pendant lights over the kitchen island. I added ceiling fans in both bedrooms. $5,000 total. The bathrooms got new faucets, new sinks, new mirrors. I even replaced the toilet seats with soft close ones because I hated the sound of them slamming. The washer and dryer that came with the apartment were ancient and barely functional. I bought a brand new combo unit, top of the line, for $2,500. I painted the entire apartment twice over the years, once when I moved in and again 3 years later when I wanted to update the color scheme. $3,000 in premium paint and professional labor. When I added it all up, I had put over $130,000 into that apartment. That included the roughly $100,000 in mortgage payments over 7 years, plus all the renovations and upgrades. And here is the thing. I kept every single receipt, every invoice, every before and after photo. I am a certified public accountant. Organization and documentation are in my blood. I had a filing box in my closet with 7 years of meticulous records. I never thought I would need them. I kept them out of habit, not suspicion. That changed about 6 months before the baby shower. Kevin and Stacy announced the pregnancy, and my parents acted like the second coming had arrived. There were parties and celebrations and endless conversations about the baby. I was happy for my brother genuinely. A new life coming into the family is always something to celebrate. But then the questions started. My mother began calling more often, asking about my plans. Was I dating anyone? Did I want to settle down? The apartment seemed so big for just one person. Did I not think so? My father, who usually only called on birthdays, suddenly wanted to know about my paperwork. Did I keep track of my payments? Did I have any documents related to the apartment? At first, I thought nothing of it. Parents worry, parents ask questions. But there was something in the way they asked something, just slightly off in their tone, that made me uneasy. I pushed the feeling down. These were my parents. They loved me. They would never do anything to hurt me. I wish I had listened to my instincts. 3 months before the baby shower, my mother called with a request. Her voice was sweeter than usual, almost syrupy. She asked if Kevin and Stacey could stay with me for a few weeks after the baby was born. Just to get on their feet, she said. Just until they figured out their living situation. I said yes, without hesitation. Of course they could stay. That is what family does. A week later, Kevin showed up at my apartment alone. He said he wanted to see the place to get an idea of the space before the baby came. I gave him a tour, proud of everything I had done. The gleaming floors, the custom cabinets, the modern fixtures. Kevin walked through every room, running his hands along the countertops, looking up at the light fixtures, nodding slowly. He took photos with his phone, which I thought was strange but did not question. Then he said something that stopped me cold. "You have really done a lot with this place," he said. "Must have cost you a fortune. Too bad your name is not even on the deed." He laughed like it was a joke, but his eyes were not laughing. That night I could not sleep. Kevin's words echoed in my head. Your name is not even on the deed. I had never actually checked. I had trusted my parents completely, and it never occurred to me to verify the paperwork. 2 months before the baby shower, I took a day off work and drove to the county recorder's office. I asked to see the property records for my apartment. The clerk pulled up the information on her computer and turned the screen toward me. The property was owned by Harold and Diane, just their names. There was no mention of me anywhere. Not as an owner, not as a beneficiary, nothing. The remaining balance on the mortgage was around $50,000. I had paid nearly twice that amount over 7 years, and I had nothing to show for it except a stack of receipts. My hands were shaking when I left that office. That weekend I drove to my parents' house. I tried to stay calm. I told myself there had to be a reasonable explanation. I asked my father about adding my name to the deed. After all, I had been paying the mortgage for 7 years. It only seemed fair. He would not look at me when he answered. These things are complicated, he said. There is paperwork involved. Taxes. We will get to it eventually. My mother chimed in, her voice dismissive. Why are you worried about this now? We are family. Nobody is going to cheat you. Do you not trust us? I suggested we put something in writing. A simple agreement acknowledging my contributions and my future ownership of the apartment. My father's face hardened. You think you need a contract with your own parents? What kind of son asked for that? I left that day with nothing resolved. But I had my answer. They had no intention of ever giving me that apartment. 1 month before the baby shower, the signs became impossible to ignore. My parents stopped calling me almost entirely. When I reached out, they were always busy or distracted. Meanwhile, Kevin and Stacey were posting on social media about searching for the perfect home for their growing family. Stacey made a video about nursery decoration ideas, walking through what looked suspiciously like my apartment. Then my mother sent me a text message that made my stomach drop. You should start looking for a new place to live, she wrote, just so you have options. I asked her what she meant. She did not respond. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by everything I had built, and I accepted the truth. My family was going to take it all from me. They were going to give my home, the one I had paid for and renovated and loved, to my brother. But they had made a critical mistake. They thought I would just accept it. They thought I would be the good son, the quiet one, the one who never made waves. They did not know me as well as they thought. I started making calls. I consulted with a lawyer who specialized in property disputes. He confirmed what I suspected. Since the apartment was legally in my parents' names, they could do whatever they wanted with it. But there was a silver lining. Anything I had purchased and installed that could be removed without structural damage was legally mine. The cabinets. The flooring, which I had specifically chosen a click-lock system that could be disassembled. The fixtures, the appliances, all mine. I saved the lawyer's information. I researched moving companies that specialized in rapid relocations. I found a crew that did renovation removals, the kind of guys who could strip a kitchen in hours. I wrote down all their numbers and kept them in my wallet. And then I waited. The baby shower was held at my parents' house on a sunny Saturday afternoon. There were about 40 guests, mostly relatives and friends of Kevin and Stacey. Pink and blue balloons everywhere, a tower of gifts in the corner, laughter and congratulations filling every room. I arrived alone wearing a light blue dress shirt that I had ironed that morning. I smiled at everyone. I shook hands. I hugged my mother and kissed her cheek. I acted like nothing was wrong. Kevin and Stacey sat in the center of the living room like royalty opening presents and posing for photos. Stacey kept one hand on her swollen belly at all times, making sure it was visible in every shot. The party went on for hours. Cake was served. Games were played. I sat in the corner waiting. Around 4 p.m, my mother stood up and clinked a spoon against her glass. Everyone quieted down. I have one more gift to give, she announced, her voice trembling with what she probably thought was emotion. This is something special. A gift from all of us in the family to Kevin and Stacey for the new chapter they are beginning. She reached behind the couch and pulled out a large frame wrapped in gold paper. Kevin and Stacey looked at each other with exaggerated surprise, as if they did not already know what was coming. My mother unwrapped the frame slowly, dramatically, and held it up for everyone to see. It was a property deed, the deed to my apartment, and stamped across the front in bold letters were the words, "Paid in full." We paid off the remaining mortgage, my mother said, her voice cracking. This apartment now belongs to Kevin and Stacey, free and clear. A home for our grandchild to grow up in. The room erupted in applause. Guests gasped and clapped. Stacey burst into tears, throwing her arms around Kevin. My brother wiped his eyes and hugged my mother. No one looked at me. I sat frozen in my chair, watching my entire life be given away in front of 40 witnesses. 7 years of payments, 7 years of work, over $130,000 of my money, gone in the time it took to unwrap a frame. Then my father appeared beside me. He leaned down, his mouth close to my ear, and spoke in a voice meant only for me. "You have 30 days to vacate," he said. "Start packing." His tone was cold, businesslike, as if he were talking to a stranger instead of his son. Something shifted inside me in that moment. The last thread of hope I had been holding on to finally snapped. These people were not my family. Family does not do this. Family does not steal from you and smile while they do it. I looked up at my father and smiled. Not a fake smile, a real one. Because I knew something he did not. 30 days, I said. I do not need 30 days. 1 day is enough. He frowned, confused. Before he could respond, I stood up and walked toward Kevin. "Congratulations," I said, clapping my brother on the shoulder. "I hope you enjoy the apartment. I really do, especially how it looks right now. Because by tomorrow, it is going to look very different." I set my drink down on the nearest table and walked out of that house. I did not look back. I did not say goodbye. As soon as I got to my car, I pulled out my phone and started making calls. The moving company answered on the second ring. "I need a crew at my apartment at 5 a.m. tomorrow," I said. "Full removal job. Everything that is not nailed to the foundation." They said it would cost double for such short notice. I said I would pay triple. Then I called the renovation removal specialists. I explained what I needed. Flooring cabinets, fixtures, appliances. Everything I had installed over the past 7 years. They said they could have a 6-man crew there by dawn. I drove back to my apartment and started packing my personal belongings. Clothes, books, photos, the small things that made a house a home. I worked through the night, fueled by a cold, calm anger that I had never felt before. By 5 a.m, the crews arrived. 2 trucks, 8 men total. I handed them the keys and showed them what to take. The cabinets came off the walls first. All $12,000 worth of custom shaker-style cabinetry, carefully unscrewed and loaded into the truck. The flooring was next. I had chosen click-lock oak planks specifically because they could be removed without damage. The workers lifted each plank, stacked them on dollies and wheeled them out. The light fixtures came down. Every chandelier, every pendant light, every ceiling fan. The bathrooms were stripped of the faucets, the sinks, the mirrors I had installed. Even the fancy toilet seats went into boxes. The washer and dryer combo took 2 men to carry down the stairs, but they managed. By noon, the apartment was unrecognizable. The kitchen was a hollow shell with exposed pipes where the cabinets used to be. The floors were bare concrete. The light sockets hung empty. The bathrooms had no sinks, no mirrors, no functioning faucets. I stood in the middle of the empty living room and took one last photo. Then I dropped my keys on the concrete floor and walked out. At 6:41 that evening, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Kevin. "Is this a joke?" I smiled and typed my reply. Not yet. But tomorrow's delivery might be. My phone exploded with calls after that. Kevin, Mom, Dad, I ignored all of them. Dad sent a long text threatening to sue me. I screenshot it and saved it to my files. Let him try. The next morning at 8 a.m., a small delivery truck pulled up to the apartment that now legally belonged to Kevin. The driver carried a large cardboard box to the front door and rang the bell. Kevin answered, probably expecting furniture or baby supplies. Inside the box, he found a thick folder containing copies of every single receipt I had kept over 7 years. Mortgage payments, renovation invoices, before and after photos of every upgrade I had made to that apartment. There was also a letter from my lawyer formally notifying Kevin and my parents that I was considering legal action to recover the value of my contributions to the property. The letter outlined the amounts in detail: $100,000 in mortgage payments, $30,000 in renovations, all for an apartment I would never own. At the bottom of the box was one final item, a handwritten note on plain white paper. You gave me 30 days. I gave you 30 years of memories to think about what family really means. I heard later what happened after they opened that box. Kevin called our parents in a panic. The apartment was uninhabitable. No kitchen cabinets, no flooring, no working bathrooms. Stacy was hysterical, crying about how they could not raise a baby in a concrete shell. My parents realized that fixing everything I had removed would cost them tens of thousands of dollars. Money they had not planned to spend, money that would wipe out their savings. My mother called me that afternoon. She was crying, begging me not to pursue legal action. We are family, she kept saying. You cannot do this to family. I let her finish. Then I said, you did this to yourself, and I hung up. The weeks after that were hard. I rented a small studio apartment in a different city and started over with almost nothing. I had furniture in storage and money in the bank, but emotionally I was empty. I had lost more than an apartment. I had lost the illusion that my family loved me. I had spent 32 years believing I was part of something only to discover I had been used the entire time. For the first few weeks I was angry. Furious, I replayed every moment of that baby shower in my head, imagining different scenarios where I confronted them publicly, where I exposed their selfishness in front of all those guests. But slowly the anger faded. It was replaced by something else, something quieter. Peace. I threw myself into work and earned a promotion within 3 months. I made new friends, people who actually cared about me, who did not see me as a resource to be exploited. I started going to the gym, taking care of my body the way I should have been doing all along. 6 months after the baby shower, I made a decision. I was not going to sue my family, not because they did not deserve it. They absolutely did. But because pursuing that case would keep me tied to them. It would keep the wound open. And I was ready to heal. I did not forgive them. Forgiveness felt like too strong a word for what they had done, but I released them. I let go of the anger, the hurt, the need for revenge. I chose my own peace over their punishment. I never spoke to my parents again. I never responded to Kevin's attempts to reconcile. Some relationships cannot be repaired, and that is okay. Not every family is worth keeping. A year later, I bought my own apartment. A small place, nothing fancy, but it was mine. My name on the deed. My key in the lock. No one could ever take it from me. I think about that old apartment sometimes. I wonder if Kevin and Stacy ever finished fixing it. I wonder if they think about me when they look at the walls I painted, the spaces where my cabinets used to hang. But mostly, I do not wonder. Mostly, I just live my life. Here is what I learned from all of this. Family is not defined by blood. Family is defined by how people treat you. The people who love you do not steal from you. They do not lie to you. They do not smile to your face while planning to take everything you have built. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Do not make excuses. Do not hope they will change. Just protect yourself and move on. Walking away from my family was the hardest thing I ever did, but it was also the most important, because sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let go of the people who are drowning you. Some people come into your life to teach you what family should not be. And sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk away, not with anger, not with hatred, but with peace. Because at the end of the day, the only home you truly need is the one you build within yourself. I would love to hear your thoughts on this story. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel so you do not miss future stories, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the courage to protect your peace no matter what anyone else expects from you. Take care of yourself.